Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Village of Monee's Planning and Zoning Board meeting of August 16th, 2023. Let's rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Bettenhausen.
Here.
Brophy.
Here.
Pope. Linner.
Here.
Lindstrom.
Here.
Trevino.
Here.
West.
Here. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting of July 19th, 2023.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Brophy.
Yes.
Linner.
Yes.
Lindstrom.
Yes.
Trevino.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Bettenhausen.
Yes. All right, open to the public. Is there anyone that would like to come up and speak?
Good evening, Board. John Henson, resident, 26034 South Briar Lane. I'm coming in tonight to talk to you guys about the special use application submitted for Rockland Oiler for the property between Egyptian Trail and Briar Lane with the 2 PIN numbers as listed here. If you guys would look at the paperwork that Mr. Barnes so nicely gave you here, and you see the part that is here, it's the green space there. Look at the very next page, where it's going to have 2 buildings and asphalt, taking away that nice little green space over there in a commercial residential area. But that is all C1 commercial. You guys have people come in here all the time that ask, they want to buy houses in that area. They have to get permission to be able to rebuild, or they can't get the loan and everything. You have to make those changes for them and such. That whole area over there is commercial residential. Number one, I don't know what kind of trucks would be coming in there to deliver stuff, because it says it's not going to be a storefront. It's not open to the public. It's just going to have people going in there and getting stuff and have an office in there and such. But that area, those roads over there are already thin and narrow. I know as a fact that a semi cannot get down South Briar Lane without taking out the wiring that's hanging down there. Their insurance is probably going to require them to have night lighting, and if you look, it's all surrounded by homes. The home here, as a matter of fact, well, that's their front window, their front picture window that'll be looking at the back of this building. They just had a child. The people next door have children there also. The bright lights at night, they're going to be required to have lights on the buildings for insurance purposes, I'm sure. The lack, like I said, the lack of development on that street, it's already pretty bad on the streets. You know, we're working to get the streets better, but it's pretty bad there. And they're going to fit this building into that small little pie piece. It doesn't make sense. Now, if you're starting a business, you want it to grow eventually, right? If they're going to grow, where are they going to grow to? More than likely, they would say, hey, we're getting too big for this building. We can't build anymore here. Are they going to go somewhere else? What are they going to do? Leave that building there? We all remember what Laba's building used to look like and how long it sat there. We've got enough old buildings and abandoned buildings that we need to take care of before we put another building here that might be. I'm not saying it would be, but that it might be. Fitting it in that small pace, you know, they should find a lot that's there's a lot more property here that would be more convenient for their size of what they're wanting to do, other than a little pie shaped there. On top of that, they already cut down a bunch of big trees that were on the lot. So, you know, find a proper lot. It's just not a good fit. And for future growth, I don't think it's a direction that the village would want to go to in that. And with the it's a neighborhood over there. It's residential. The only thing that's not residential over there is right there by the Monee Township. The building is there. But that's down past all the homes. I know it's C1, but it's residential. It's the little part of Monee there that nobody really knows about. It's just a nice, quiet little place. There's not a lot of traffic down there. Kids play out in the roads, you know, like we used to be able to when we were younger, and then they have a good time out there. I just don't think we need the traffic. We don't need the building there. We don't need it to be in that spot. It just is not a right fit. It's not going to look good. It's going to be I'm not saying anything about their building in particular, but as that, it's just going to look like a sore thumb sticking out in that neighborhood. I appreciate your time, guys.
Thank you, John.
It is sold already, by the way. It was sold June 8th of '23 for $9,000, according to what this says.
Thank you, John. All right, any other open to the public?
I forgot to say one thing. We have an ordinance of 30 feet. We have ordinances for a reason.
Good evening. My name is Colleen Costello, and I live at 6532 West Cedar Court on Gorman Farms. Tonight, I'd like to oppose item number 3 on the agenda this evening, the variance requested by Second Place Church for the amphitheater and the other and for other plans for that area. It's my understanding that this is an ER estate residential area, and I understand that special purposes such as church functionality can be done, but being a neighbor to the backside of that property, I have some concerns because I've seen a lot of activity occurring over at that facility long before the matter has been brought to this group, and I don't believe that they've been following appropriate protocol. There's been a tremendous amount of activity with respect to large semis going up there and dumping materials that I don't believe should be dumped on an estate residential property. And in looking at, or what I've heard is they're looking to put an amphitheater up there. And I'm very concerned about the noise that that's going to create as it will face our neighborhood. I believe it was Labor Day weekend, or I'll say early September, somebody granted a group of people from friends or of the area or the property, and there was music so loud that we could hear it in our house with all the windows shut and the air condition running. We did call the police and ask them to come by, and there was a little bit of a dispute on whether it was county property or the village property. We have since been able to get that clarified, but I'm very concerned about the noise and the regard of what type of activities they would have up there, how loud this might be. I know how loud 57 can be when the wind is blowing the right direction. So just very concerned about that. We're not certain what type of security might be put over that property. And because right now there's a lot of different things, as I indicated earlier, going on. I believe there's like an old bus of some sort that's sitting there, so we don't know who might be inhabiting that. I'm just not certain that it's a really great environment for children. I also understand that the organization has other projects in town that they haven't completed. So I'd really like to see how they're going to complete existing projects before they start on this one. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mark Haas, and my address is 26046 South Chestnut Road. I'm here to oppose the variance application for the zoning of that business that is going in that, what John Henson just mentioned, that Pie Wedge area. I live just kitty corner from that. I didn't get a letter. I'm within about 78 feet of his property. Not a problem, I'm here. But I am also a little concerned about the opportunities for the community to take into effect that the lack of development we have on Oak Street. We have a very old stretch of buildings there that have been sitting there for decades. An old bank building, a small storefront. And I don't know if it would be in the interest to think of a renewal type of program, something going forward. I don't know what you have, going forward in your business model, but it would be interesting to see a little bit more attention to see if some changes can be done there, and if that could, if they could be updated, or perhaps, if we had limited pockets, we would, the village would start buying segments of that, leveling it, and then eventually turning it over into a condo or an apartment building, something that would produce tax revenue for the community, because it's been sitting there for a long time. And here's a small business trying to go in at the end of our block here, and it's like, I don't think it's a proper fit. I don't want to be, and I know they're going to try to make exceptions for the variance. I think I couldn't get a variance for my fence. And but just going forward, I just think that if it's a proper business plan, if this man needs such a small area of business, and if it would fail, it would be really not conducive for someone else to come in there, perhaps. It might be too small for somebody. And then there's another eyesore that we're seeing, just like on Oak Street. We don't want to see that. If he wants to step up and do a proper business, a proper standard-sized business, and a proper lot, it's probably best for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Yeoman. I live at 2645-3 Ridgeland Avenue, and I'm opposed to the church changing things right now in that land, only because I don't know what's going to happen to the infrastructure to support that facility. I'm concerned what that'll do to the environment. Are they going to use a well? Do you use septic? Are they running water or sewer? I don't know those things. Perhaps they'll explain that later on today, but right now I don't know that. So I'm opposed to this idea. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next, what we're gonna do, I need a motion to open the public hearing for the variance application submitted by Joshua Coakley for the property located at 25802 South Truman Court. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, roll call, please.
Lederer,
Yes.
Lindstrom,
No.
Trevino,
I have trouble hearing.
Oh, a motion to
We're
open the
opening the
public
public hearing.
hearing.
Open, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mine was yes on that. I'm back.
You want to go home early, right?
I'm sorry. I'm stepping ahead of you. Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, yes, yes.
West,
Yes.
Bettenhausen.
Yes.
Brophy.
Yes.
All right, would Mr. Coakley like to come up and speak?
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Coakley. I live 25802 South Truman Court. I'm a newly resident to the Monee community about roughly 2 years. When I moved in this community, I moved here to actually move in a safe space for my children. I'm a father of 7 children, but I have 3 children living with me, 2 being under the age of 6 and 4. But unfortunately, one of my children were born with autism, and there's no gate around my house, so he just comes out and takes off running. There's no stop signs within, I want to say, almost 200 feet. So we have to sometimes run out of the house to try to chase him down, and it's a possibility that he can be hit. Another reason that I'm requesting to have a fence built is because even when I'm back there trying to barbecue or do any activities with the kids, they need the space to move around because he's very touchy, clingy, and experiencing different things because of his challenges. Also, I was aware that several of my neighbors already have done what I'm requesting to do. I have multiple pictures showing the same exact build out right across the street from me, on the side of me, and even John is talking about doing it himself if things change with what we're seeing in the community. So I haven't had anybody oppose. Most of the neighbors reached out and said, absolutely, we know how he runs around. I installed camera systems, but camera systems would not stop drivers from running my child down if he runs out of the house. So I'm very concerned about this issue. So I really would hope that you grant my request due to the safety and concerns of my child. I also work in public safety. I'm the executive director for a non-for-profit organization that focuses on public safety. So public safety is very dear to me, and it was one of the reasons that I wanted to take my children out of Chicago, because of his issues and the things that, and his, well, I'm gonna say his challenges, you know, that he was born with, unfortunately. So I'm just trying to create a safe environment for my family, as I do for many in the city of Chicago as well.
I actually understand that. I have a grandson with autism, and it's tough. I understand your emotions and everything with that. You need this. You need this big time. Thank you for your words.
Thank you. Any questions for me?
Yeah, anybody have any questions?
Sure.
I have a question about the fence going to the north. It goes beyond the utility easement, which can always be a touchy situation. Not that Commonwealth Edison is in there. I'm sure they're on the north-south, you know, at the west end of your property. But I think what's here, is it a culvert or something for drainage?
Yeah, it's a drainage there.
Okay.
The contractor was notified that he will have to leave that open. So we were going to make sure that the village had access. And if anything possibly came up on the emergency, we wouldn't mind them bringing it down to deal with any issue. I'm mainly concerned about my child's safety. I mean, if I had to rebuild, unfortunately,
I get it.
I'm okay with
I just want to make sure that you are aware of the fact that you're going beyond the utility easement designation, and in which case you'd be responsible if something had to be dug up or whatever, and your fence might have to be removed until, you know, such time that they have to do what work they need to do and get it done.
Yes, sir. I'm
Okay.
definitely aware. Also, I didn't mention this. It's a German Shepherd, literally the size of the gate that's behind me. You know, so I mean, I'm out there, and I have to sit out there and watch my kids, no matter what type of work, because he can literally put his paws up there and come right over. We've been blessed that he hasn't, but that's another issue I'm dealing with as well. So that's kind of why I really wanted to come across that way, especially for the reason of not letting that dog be able to come over and, you know, maybe bite one of the kids. So, all right, thank you guys for hearing me.
Thank you.
All right, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Lindstrom,
Yes.
Trevino,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Bettenhausen,
Yes.
Brophy,
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
All right, now can I get a favorable or unfavorable recommendation?
I'll give a favorable.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trevino,
Favorable.
West,
Favorable.
Bettenhausen,
Favorable.
Brophy,
Favorable.
Leonard.
Favorable.
All right, well, thank you very much. That has passed our recommendation and will now be forwarded to the village board at their next meeting, which will be next Wednesday, the 23rd at 6:30 PM. You'll probably want to go and show them go over the same things you went over with us.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Will they send that information to me where I need to go?
It'll be here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And what did you say the date was?
it's next Wednesday, the 23rd at 6:30 here. All right, so now I need a motion to open the public hearing for the special use permit application submitted by Rockland Oiler for the property located between Egyptian Trail and Briar Lane, or Briar Street.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, roll call, please.
Trevino,
Open, yes.
West, Yes. Bettenhausen,
Yes.
Brophy,
Yes.
Lenore,
Yes.
Lindstrom.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think everybody here on this side knows me. My name is Bill Barnes. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the village. About 2 months ago or so, Mr. Euler, Rocky Rockland, came to me and said he was looking to relocate his business of 20-some years, and I'll let him do the talking, but I just want to give a brief intro and kind of open up. I know you have packages of everything here, but this is the site that he's purchased. And, sorry, well, you have it in front of you. So, as Mr. Henson, Trustee Henson mentioned, this triangle, which has been there for a while. So he came to me, and he's got 20-some years in business, said, hey, I'm looking to relocate. He had a great price on this property. And obviously, it's tight. He'll show you, the prints and everything and how he intends to hopefully make it fit. And that's why he's here, to look for a variance. And on the C, it is a commercial, as we all know. It's C1. He's looking for C2 because he doesn't have any traffic coming in and out. It's just for his office and storage of some supplies. So he's coming from, I think, Hazelcrest. So, and he's also, would like to purchase a home here one day. And of course, as we all know, there's commercial development everywhere. Right in front of this property, the village purchased this property for hopefully future use of or building of a possible police station or what have you. And then just up the road from this is, of course, part of Indian Motorcycle dealership with his slingshots and that type of thing. So there is a lot of commercial along this road. We did talk about, he has vans, he's not going to park them overnight. There's no semi-trucks that I know of, but he can explain everything. And so I just want to make the intro, and then I will pull up this, I guess the rendering that you want up there. Yeah, I'll let you talk. So this is Rockland Euler.
Hi, folks. Rockland Euler Jr. Me and my family, we own Rockland Plumbing. We started this business over 25 years ago. I finally found a piece of property that we could afford. We're not a big company, nor do we plan to get real big. We're just trying to stay as quaint as possible. You see, we went through the last couple of years. If we were any bigger, we wouldn't have made it. We just simply wouldn't have. As far as traffic goes, there will be some parts delivered, but not by semi-trucks. They'll be just like, box trucks with lift gates, that sort of thing. I'm hoping to make enough room on the front side where those two doors are to be able to drop these things off and they can just hook right out. I wanted to face it towards Egyptian Trail because I don't want everything else to be an eyesore for the neighborhood that's there. I am aware of all that. The gentleman brought up a good point about the lighting. I didn't really know if any insurance company or my insurance right now would actually make us do that, but I would definitely be against doing that for the sake of the neighborhood, for sure. So the other building, I don't know where. This is basically the stock that building was. And then the smaller portion is for the office portion. What that is for us to answer the phones. I got 2 people that come in and out of the office. It's usually over with by about 8 o'clock. And that's really it. I mean, I'm trying to keep it as small as possible also to fit it. I know it's a smaller piece of property, but yeah, there's the, with it put together. Yeah, it's gonna be one building total, but we had to downsize the next part to make it fit. And hopefully we can get the variance that we need to make this work.
Now, are you relocating your business from
Yes.
Hazelcrest here?
Yes. Hazelcrest is just, there was a shooting there over the weekend. I just, I bring my family there too sometimes, you know what I mean? Picking up checks or just stopping in, we just, plus one of the ladies that works for me, she's got kids that comes with her to work sometimes, and I can't stomach the fact if one of them got hurt or something, But this is the color we're kind of going for. I'm a little open-minded on that part, but this is kind of like what we're looking for.
And now, what kind of activity do you think you would see? Like, just give us an idea, like an average day.
An average day, there would be somebody showing up about 7:30, 8 o'clock. That's our dispatch. He's just taking calls, dispatching the guys the calls out. He stays there till about 5, sometimes 4:30. And then my girl will come in and do some billing. And that's usually about 3 days out of the week, the billing. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And as far as parts getting dropped off, like I said, there'll be like box trucks with lift gates. There'll be some hot water tanks here and there. That'd be about the biggest of any parts that we get. And that would come and go, a few times a week,
And your service vans.
Yeah, and all of our trucks, they stay with the guys. Because, if they're running on call, I'd rather their trucks be at home. We've always been this way. It's just easier for the guys to get out the door, go in their truck and hit it, you know what I mean? Instead of coming back to the shop and grabbing a truck. And I realize there's just not enough room here for all that.
Yeah.
And we're not looking for that.
Now, how often would they be coming to pick up, say, the hot water tanks, or do you have somebody then deliver them to the jobs?
A few days out of the week. I mean, probably about most of the week, to be honest with you, because I have to pick up some tanks and deliver them, to the customers' houses. But some of the tanks, we pick them up closer to the customer's house. These are the ones that are further away. We got to schedule again, have it delivered, and then bring it to the home.
I think there was a question of lighting that was brought up. We're very fortunate within this group that we have a pretty good lighting expert in Mr. Brophy, and I think that the concern is well put, because of lighting issues. Our hope is that if this goes through, that you manage to engineer lighting that is environmentally friendly to the neighborhood, because like one gentleman stated, his house abuts right next to the long end of the back of your triangle here.
Right.
The base of your triangle.
Right. Well, I talked to him, and I talked with him about what he would like me to put there.
Okay.
Either bushes or a fence. He told me he didn't care. So, I'm open to that still. I'll ask him again before we do put a fence there or a bush line. Right now, I got a fence there, just to keep it kind of boxed off.
Okay, Ed, this is for you. You might know this. The issue that they were having with Lauren over there by the Cooperage with the lighting, and it was basically more for the road, right?
Correct.
So,
Yeah, but if he could put basically, a light over the top of his
Building.
both garage doors and the yard.
it wouldn't have to be nothing, there wouldn't have to be no giant lighting or
I'm
nothing
not
like
putting
that.
nothing on the residence side in the back. It's just going to be on the front side. It ain't going to be much. It's just going to be a light to shine there, just.
You're not gonna put up an 80-foot sign that says Rockies or anything.
No. I'm just putting it on the window, actually.
Blinking with arrows and the whole deal.
No. It's going to be more quaint than you think.
And I think, just that, when they first met with Rockland, he talked about all this, what they do. I forget how many years, 20-some years?
We got about 28 years altogether.
So, he's also looking, he's got a cabin up in Wisconsin, so he's looking also for property down here.
We'll have to talk.
To move. So, certainly the business, that's been long-standing, not a lot of truck traffic, of course, which is an issue, when we bring that up.
Right.
New business coming to Monee. So, but certainly, he talked about that they do things, discounts for veterans and for seniors. So, certainly somebody that, I think would be a good staple, a small business, but
You're not gonna be Amazon traffic, so.
Right, right. That's somebody that we would like to have in Monee, and just adds value to it. And again, there's property that hasn't been used, and you know, he did clean up the land, so.
Yeah, there was a couple dead trees there and a couple of trees I needed removed for the building. But for the most part, it wasn't a whole
What type of
bunch.
landscaping are you gonna put in there?
I'm gonna put some bushes, if you look around the tip,
Yeah, I
I'm
see
gonna
that.
put some bushes around that spot there. And then there's another piece that I own also in front of that, the smaller one. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that one yet.
'Cause I've been big on businesses coming in and making everything look good.
Yeah,
Trees, bushes, whatever you gotta do, you know,
Yeah.
Bill, but, yeah, we talk about all that, and that's important.
yeah. Absolutely.
That green area, you're leaving that like grassy, open?
Yeah, for the most part, there's really nothing else we can use it for. I mean, I might put a couple picnic tables back there or something for the guys if they're gonna eat their lunch or something. Or if we have a meeting or something outdoors, you know.
Anybody else have any questions? No? All right, did anybody from the public have any questions that hasn't spoken already in regards to this? No?
I have a real quick question. You know how you got the gully in the back on the Egyptian side with the ditch and everything? You've got a hill that comes up onto that property. Are you guys gonna cut that property flat, or how are you gonna get around that? That's the way the doors are gonna be.
Well, I'm gonna talk to the guy that I find for the concrete for that. I'm not sure how that's gonna work out. That is a good question, but I'm gonna work that out to where
Because that's a ditch that goes down to a big major drainage behind
Yeah.
my home.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure.
Does it start right there?
Yeah, it starts at that part and goes all the way down. That's that Egyptian trail side.
Okay.
It's a ditch, what have you.
Just for the water flow?
Yeah.
Well, if it's something that's gonna get in the way, like the driveway, because that would be where the drive would be going to those two doors. If we had to put a culvert pipe or something in, you know, absolutely. I'm gonna have to have somebody take a look at it, see if it's absolutely necessary, but I'm not opposed to that for sure. I don't wanna mess up the waterway for sure, you know.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
All right. I think everybody, you're all good then? Okay. All right, well, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, now I need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
West,
Yes, here.
Bettenhausen,
Yes.
Brophy,
Yes.
Lenore,
Yes.
Lindstrom,
Yes.
Trevino.
All right, now can I have a favorable or unfavorable recommendation?
I'll make the favorable.
I'll second it.
All right. Roll call, please.
Bettenhausen,
Yes.
Brophy,
Yes.
Lenore,
Yes.
Lindstrom,
Yes.
Trevino,
Favorable, yes.
West.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to make a favorable recommendation to the board for their consideration at their next meeting. That will be on August 23rd at 6:30 PM, so you'll want to attend that as well. And just, they'll probably have questions for you as well. All right, thank you. You're welcome. Now I need a motion to open the public hearing for the special use permit application submitted by Second Place Church.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Brophy,
Yes.
Lenore,
Yes.
Lindstrom,
Yes.
Trevino, West,
Yes.
Bettenhausen.
Yes. All right.
Good evening, P&Z Committee Board. It is great to be here today. We're going to do a bit of a presentation to you about the Roots on Ridgeland Restoration Project. And so just want to kind of talk a little bit about who's here tonight. Myself, my name is Joe DeCenzo. I'm the lead pastor at Second Place Church. Sarah DeCenzo is here as well. She carries a overall vision for the property as well as our whole church. Danielle Kowaleski is here today. She is a trustee at Second Place Church, and she also is representing the civil team because she works with Terra Engineering in the city. And then lastly, we have Todd Nemec, who is the principal architect, and he is here tonight to answer any questions and present a little bit about our plan as well. So just a couple of the nuts and bolts of the property. PIN number is there. You've got that in your packet. Acreage is approximately 22 acres. Current zoning is estate residential. The special uses requested are all allowable and listed in your packet as well. And so this property is, well, it's maybe hard to see there, but it's highlighted in that red rectangle there right off of 57. We'll give much closer pictures of that. And so with that, those are the nuts and bolts of the property. We just want to talk a little bit about the vision.
So Second Place started on the west side of 57 on Ridgeland in Monee 13 years ago. Our unique faith expression has primarily been through the arts, and meeting in a warehouse for worship definitely sent a message of not doing church as expected. In 2016, Provision Lab was formed to support the Monee community and providing food and services to give a hand up to those in need. 5 years ago, we opened Natural Discovery Child Care Center to give space for kids to explore the way that they were uniquely wired to learn. I recall all of this for you just to note that we've come to the village of Monee several times over the past nearly 14 years, and most of our ideas and requests have been, well, unique. We're here again, not requesting special use of an existing building, but rather to restore an undeveloped property in Monee just a bit further south on Ridgeland Avenue than where we started in 2010. We saw the village's long-term plans when they were presented in 2021, and we believe that our request for special use of this property on Ridgeland complements what the village wants to be known for and who they intend to serve. What we're proposing is preserving a bit of the past by restoring and regenerating some of the acreage while also building with the future in mind, sustainably and ecologically. When we spent time on the land, quieted ourselves, walked through the clearing of the trees, we began to imagine this property as a legacy project that mimicked the ecosystem that we find ourselves in, both environmentally and as an organization. You see, the monoculture that currently exists on the land is predominantly evergreen trees. They have not been maintained, and invasive species can be found everywhere on the 22 acres. The trees are still beautiful and awe-inspiring, but it's just a matter of time before the health of the forest is compromised. We can address this situation by planting a variety of native plants, restoring the land through diversity. We can create a polyculture where each of the plants benefits not only the vegetation, but creates space and homes for insects and wildlife. And we believe that the same is true of Second Place. We have found over the years that we are healthier when we are part of a community that extends beyond our walls. The first showed itself in Provision Lab and continued with Natural Discovery. Unfortunately, the pandemic uprooted all of our efforts. But ironically, it was a blessing because it allowed us to see alternative ways to operate. We found new ways of being the church, landing in a temporary and traditional building off of Monee Manhattan Road. Provision Lab Pantry now resides in a tiny temporary space on Governor's Highway. Natural Discovery is an outdoor education co-op, getting kids off screens and learning in nature. So do you see the value of each individually? Now imagine their power collectively. It's what we like to refer to as our ecosystem. The Roots on Ridgeland project will include outdoor play spaces, gardens, athletic fields, learning through nature, the arts, movement, music, making. And ultimately, it will be home for our church. We're not only restoring the land, but we're restoring faith, hope, and imagination. What you're about to see is how we believe Second Place can take root in Monee and have a lasting impact that goes long beyond our time here and become a legacy project for generations.
All right, let's get to what you all want to see, the master plan. So this is the first time you all showing it, and we're showing it to you guys. And so instead of just throwing you a 22-acre master plan, we want to present it to you in the phases we currently believe this work will be completed. And so the phase one we're calling, or actually before I go there, I forgot. This is the existing conditions. So if you haven't been on the land, the big red boundary is about 22 acres, as we said earlier. About 7 acres of this land anchored on the south side there is cleared. The rest of it is woods, which is what we love. And that's why we purchased this property, is because we want to maintain the integrity of the forest. To our east, of course, is 57. To the south is a privately owned agricultural center. There is a shared access easement that you can see outlined there where the existing gravel driveway is. And then we do have residences to our west and north. And now phase one. So phase one we're calling the outdoor education. And we call it that because we intend to make a very minimal footprint on the forest. And so we intend to do that by peppering in, hidden into the woods, a series of outdoor classrooms that you would get to via trails. They're subtly shown in red here intentionally because they are subtly visible when you're on site standing at the clearing. Peppered in with that, we want to build a couple of structures to provide shelter, one of which would be an A-frame structure, very simple, much like you'd see in a lot of forest preserves. We do want to place a yurt within the forest, tucked away as a place to discover. We'll show you what a yurt is in a second, because it's kind of a new philosophy for folks. And what we also have as we go through these phases is some representative imagery. So we're not done baking up the plans, like we're not into construction document phases, but we definitely want to capture the vibe for you guys that we're looking to achieve. And so this is outdoor education. This is 6 images that show a worldwide effort to get kids outside. The idea of educating people outside is not new. It's literally been around since the dawn of man, but has taken on a new shape in this century. Here's some examples. And then the next shows more of the structured elements that we have intended to put on the property. The bottom right is a yurt. So I currently have described it as a structured tent on a deck. That's how I think about it. It's meant to provide shelter from the elements for our staff and students and families that traverse. And then we'll need to store some things, so we have sheds and buses that we repurpose and give new life to. The second phase, we've titled Athletics and Gardens, and the intent here is to create, again, as minimal impact as possible, but promote activity on the land that would be an anchor for the community and our ecosystem to really just recreate with each other and also to learn. And so the gardens and the green images there, those are really intended to be demonstration gardens for the community, so that we can educate communities and local schools on how to plant food that they can cultivate at home. We also are indicating in yellow some program for athletics, potentially some sand volleyball courts or a full court basketball paved court to give us some versatility of play there. The rest of it will remain open lawn. And we do have shown here a parking lot and a maintenance garage, because we do need some places to store the shovels and the rakes and the John Deere and those good things. Gardens. We all have a good idea of what community gardens look like. Here's a couple images for you. These will take shape organically as we fit them to the needs of the community. And then we do have a few representative images for what we think a maintenance garage could look on the land. Of course, we all know what sand volleyball looks like. That's what it could look like facing north to the woods. And when we talk about parking lots, you're going to see a lot of images in this deck. We do not intend to really pave a lot of this with asphalt and have it just pop up in the middle of the landscape. What you see on the bottom left is parking. It's a permeable paver system that allows vegetation even to go through it. And those are the types of technologies we're interested in exploring. Phase 3, we call Education Center again. This is where we aim to bring the bulk of the parking to. We intend to treat the parking much like I described earlier, and I'll show you more images in a minute. Well, we also do introduce about a 1,200 square foot building that will be under the special use of school. It's intended to really feel like a one-room schoolhouse. We'll have a couple of permanent restroom facilities at this point, and it would be serviced through the parking facility, as you can see here. So when I say parking lot, again, I don't think Amazon. Don't think a parking lot like that. Think a parking lot that's really integrated into nature and welcomes stormwater to it and uses a very fancy term called bioinfiltration, which really just means you're using biology or plants to welcome stormwater to it and to encourage ecosystem. And then when we say nature center, we're literally talking about a center in a school that pops up out of the woods. These are representative images for how we want that to feel. We want it to feel like you've discovered this building in the middle of the woods, and even potentially having trees pop up through it, like the image on the top right. And when you're sitting in it, we want you to feel connected to nature, like the bottom left. And last and final phase, I will hand over to Tosh.
Thank you very much. Phase 4 introduces the worship space, and we've located that fairly far from Ridgeland. Following with the philosophy of, maintaining the earth and maintaining the site's natural features, we are trying to work with the grades. There's actually a fair amount of topographical change here, so we're looking to nestle the building in with that as much as possible and not have it, emerge as a giant structure. We're looking at different methods of breaking down the volume of the building so that it doesn't look like a giant building. We're doing that, and I got some images here to help illustrate how that can be done. We're looking at possibly terracing the land. We're looking at bringing the natural materials of the outside to the inside and having some transparency. We backed it up against the service road so it can be serviced, and so we have fire access and things of that nature. Utilities would be fed from there as well, but it gets it, off the immediate face of Ridgeland, but does not overwhelm the surrounding area. In this image, we have a couple methods of the ways to approach the building and the ways that we can manage the topography, and drainage as well. It's like ways that we are going to maintain the drainage, the natural drainage patterns of the site, and yet, do a light touch to the site.
Now, you're going to have an opportunity to support this project in many different ways in the future. We'd love to have you up on the property to take a walk with us and see what it looks like right now. It's a beautiful piece of property. But for today, what we hope you give is that you give your recommendation to the full trustee board for next week to approve the special use of this property. They say that the best day to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best day is today. And so we hope that you will plant a seed in this project with us, and way beyond, after we're all gone, that this project would still be benefiting the Monee community and all the families that live here. And so with that, we're just going to open it up to questions.
Oh, I love the idea of bringing kids into nature, for one thing. I think that's huge. And me with trees in Monee, anybody that knows me, I've been talking about trees for 20 years now. So this is the type of project I like to see. My concern is that one citizen had a concern about an auditorium and noise.
Did you see an auditorium presented?
I didn't hear that at all, actually, no.
I should say an amphitheater.
An amphitheater, I'm sorry.
There was not an amphitheater.
There wasn't one going on there
there's
then?
not an amphitheater planned.
Okay.
Do you have enough finances for all the phases?
Depending on who you know. So we are phasing it for that reason. So obviously, phase 1 is minimal funding to do that. And so we're phasing it across a series of 4 phases at this time.
How many people are in the assembly or parish or whatever?
Are you coming Sunday?
What?
Are you coming Sunday? No? Okay. So if everybody came on a Sunday, which is always the challenge, I would say that we're about 175 people, and that includes kids and teenagers.
I was going to say, does that include the kids?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're our church.
When you reach phase 3, how many people do you anticipate? Completion of phase 3, approximately, what year?
Phase 3, the education center?
Yeah, that's before the church building, you mean? Or when the church building goes up?
On a daily uses. My concern is the entrance into the parking lot, the traffic along the areas that are I guess that would be the west of the parking lot. And you can see why the residents would be concerned. They get traffic possibly all through daylight in the summertime, going through there, and they're trying to get out of their driveway. They're trying to do a lot of things. So, one, do you anticipate any kind of traffic control that'll be needed due to the volume of traffic that's coming through?
So from a traffic layout perspective, we've intentionally aligned the driveway proposed entrance to our parking lot with the neighboring driveway, because as you think about traffic flow, generally the best practice is to do that to minimize conflicts with what would be westbound and eastbound turns. So we've done it that way. When it comes to queuing, when you think about traffic, it's all about what's something called ADT, which is average daily traffic. The average daily traffic on Ridgeland is very minor. And so what traffic engineers look for are gaps between cars to get people to fit in. And we believe the ADT on that road is very minor, especially as you pointed out, since the majority of the zoning adjacent us is residential. So their traffic is intermittent. And so folks coming to us, even in the surge of a startup of an activity, would have plenty of gaps to filter themselves into the parking lot. And if we go back, might as well go back to this plan. If we go back to this parking lot plan, there's intentionally a circuitous flow to it, so that even when it comes to exiting, if 120 cars were parked in that lot and trying to exit, we are intending ourselves to queue within our own project and therefore be our own problem, as people do find gaps along Ridgeland to exit out of the facility.
And I would also say that, just note that the parking lot is screened by all the trees that are existing there right now. Those are actually some of the more beautiful trees that are on there. And so we plan to keep that. And so that parking lot really wouldn't be seen. Maybe you'd see it during the winter when there's no leaves on the tree, but right now you'd probably not even notice it.
I have a question. Under item 9, it indicated that it's undeveloped, but one of the neighbors' concerns was that there was noise and some activity going on there. Can you address that specifically?
Yeah, I can. So that concern was actually something that occurred prior to us owning the property. It was also something that was approved by the prior owners of the property. It was not us that caused that music to happen. This issue actually was brought all the way up to the village administrator, and we were cleared on that in terms of understanding that it wasn't us, it wasn't our noise, and there wasn't that much more that we could say about it at that point.
That would include some dumping activity as well, you feel?
Yes, that's not our.
That's not you.
So the large semis are not us. There's been some smaller box trucks that would dump mulch. So for us to be able to mulch some of the land naturally, the benefit of that is that has been a donation. And so, as everybody knows, when we have to pay for mulch, it can get expensive. And so that's what that, anything like that, we don't want to say there's been no activity of a truck. Small box truck is a dump truck in terms of what we're responsible for seeing.
What you've presented today on what I have, it has 3 phases. We don't have 4 phases.
That's because this project is organic and constantly changing. So we wanted to bring this to you and say, this is the full thing of what we see. And we started to split it up in phases based on the code. When we looked at it this way and walked through the project, it made sense to split up a phase into 2. And so that's why there's 4 today.
And I just had one final question. With respect to your outdoor classrooms, is that seasonal?
I'll let you take that one.
Well, yes, it's actually in the worst seasons when we're outside. We have found summer outside is rough, but winter is amazing. And so the idea is that there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes. And so we are learning to dress for the weather. We are warmer than a lot of the countries that have outdoor school as a norm. And so what we're trying to teach the kids and parents is dress for the occasion. Obviously, we wouldn't be outside if there is inclement weather. If we have any risk of that, we don't go outside. But we do enjoy being outside in the winter more than we enjoy being outside in the summer. You can put more on a lot easier than you can take it off.
Thank you so much.
And again, the size is approximately 22 acres, right? 22 acres, you got a lot of room, so.
Yes.
Yeah, and the buildings are not massive. You know, the nature center, education center is like 1,200 square feet. Even the worship center, is, half an acre out of the 22. And with, 1 million square foot buildings being put up in the area, we feel like this is pretty small in comparison to that. So
Just leave them trees alone.
I'm with you. I can't wait to plant more.
Good, I'll be with you. You need a helping hand?
Yes, I
got
can't
a
wait.
shovel. Here you go.
We're neighbors.
He'll
This guy's on my
tell me.
Love
I ain't playing.
So what's the ultimate goal for, say, phase 4? Like, when do you hope to have that?
That is the million-dollar question,
Actually,
right?
10
$10 million, right, yeah, right. So, you know, I'm not exactly sure how to even say that. So maybe that puts folks at ease because they're like, oh, they're never going to build that. That's things huge. It's going to cost them. Well, you know what? That could be, but you know what? This is something. And if I could just say, like, we have faith, and so we see. I say that your imagination is really the workshop of faith, and that when you can imagine it, then you can start to cast vision for it. Then you can start to see other folks that see it, and then can come alongside it. You know, depending on how that happens, this project could be something that's 5 years away, say, you know, phase 4. It could be 10 years away. But I think the goal is, and I'll tell you, we've been dreaming about it for a minute, is that we really feel like this is what the property wants to be, in the sense, like we're not trying to force it into, we're not going to level it and clear all the trees and just put a big piece of concrete on it. And so we see this as where it's going and what we hope to see happen. And so we hope it happens sooner than later, but it's hard to put a timeline on it.
Well, I'd be a little more comfortable if you're a second place church, and I think the church should probably be built first, because you can be doing all these different phases and then poof, no money for the actual church. That's my one worry.
I actually would love to have a conversation more about that, but yeah, that is the biggest, most costly part of the project, and so that's why we put it to the end.
And you do have a church right now that you can
We
use.
do,
So
yep.
I can kind of see why that would.
Yeah.
So this has a kind of like a Camp Manitoqua kind of feel to it, but without overnights.
Right, exactly. No overnights. And you know, we met as a church during COVID at Camp Manitoqua for a year, and we actually kind of cut our teeth on the outdoor education with them, and they actually then adopted some of the things that we had started, and we brainstormed even together, like how to help the kids during COVID. And so that's where a lot of this kind of birthed out of, is that there's a lot of folks right now that are just tired of their kids on screens, and they want them outside, and they're looking for programs that they can bring their kids to that would be that would teach them how to play outside and learn outside. And so so the thing about Camp Manitoqua, and because we were there for a year, you know, somebody mentioned you know, just access to the land and like security and all that stuff. It's something we're thinking about. It's definitely something you can see that there's not a lot of access to the property just willy-nilly. At Camp Manitoqua, you can literally walk off of that old Sauk Trail Road and you're on their property. In this case, we have it screened with the woods, and we only have 2 access points, which would probably be gated when we're not there. Maybe more information than you were looking for, sorry, but things we've been thinking about.
No, you're good. All right, anybody else have any questions? No? Does anybody from the public have any questions that hasn't spoken already?
I'm a little concerned if we're not doing the amphitheater, that we're putting the athletic fields in. We just put a new park in, we're putting the park over in Gorman Farms in our neighborhood.
Can you come up and speak into the microphone just so that anybody who watches this later can hear?
Turn the mic that way toward her.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks. With regard to the athletic fields, my concern is that we've just spent a tremendous amount of resources in the village to put up a new area and places for the kids to play. I understand that they've also recently set aside some funds to put up a new park in the Gorman Farm area that has been designated for a number of years. So now we're going to put up a third area for kids. I know that there are some other establishments that have some basketball courts in the backs of their buildings and things like that. And once some of the children find out that there's that available, they're going and playing basketball till, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. The police need to be called and be, sent off of that. So again, my concern being on the backside of this property that we would start to see, people wandering in irrespective if gates are put up or not. So I think going and calling it a forest is a bit of a stretch. If you look at it, the definition, it's, 100 to 200 trees per acre. And there may be some little ones, but I'm not certain they're all going to survive. The yurt has another concern to it because it is a state residential and that was meant to have a permanent fixed structure. So now we're starting to do not only, we've got a bus that's probably not sitting on asphalt or cement, which I believe is a code within the village. We're going to put up a yurt, that's a different phase. I'm a finance person, so, we've got 175 people in a church and we're looking at a $10 million building. It's like somewhere the math is not adding up for me, but that's another discussion. So I just want to, reiterate some of the current concerns after learning additional information about the project. Thank you.
I'd like to say one thing to you. One thing that the village has gotten involved with is New Hope Church was having an incident with the basketball courts. There was people complaining. So the village got involved and they put a sign up there. You can only play till 6:30, and after dark, by order of the village, police enforced, they make you leave. And now this being such a private property, but you're not gonna have that type of stuff going on. It's gonna be, it sounds like it's like an island you guys are on, pretty much. With a couple of entrances, you got the trees and, their ideal sounds great. I understand your concerns, I do get that, but I don't see the thing with the basketball thing. I played basketball at least till I was 30 years old. I'd love to see more basketball. I'd like to see more sports, period. That's what keeps kids out of trouble is all that. But I get your concern if you got, because there was kids over there playing till 11, 12 o'clock at night. And get out of here, excuse me. Sorry, John.
And there's, the Monee Reservoir, so there are a lot of outdoor spaces which can be utilized, and it's unfortunate they bought it before they brought the presentation, forward, and it sounds like it's changing consistently, and that worries me because I don't know if they'll have the resources to finish it.
Thank you.
You only one lotto ticket away, man. You donate it all, it's tax-free, right?
That's right.
$1 billion will work.
That's right.
Now, say you only get to phase 3 and just cannot get the funding for the rest. Would you abandon the idea, or would you just keep using it for everything that you've already set up there?
I think phases 1 through 3 are absolutely stunning and would be a huge benefit to the community. And I think phase 4 just puts it over the top. I think that phase 1 makes improvements to what already exists. And I think that anything that happens there is more than what is already there. And let's get more people outside sooner than later.
Nature's good stuff.
It is good for the soul.
You
It
better
is good for
believe
the
it.
mind.
You better believe it.
There are lots of reasons why we need to get people outside, and I understand we won't get 100% of the people who believe that, but I do hope that we can create space where people can see that they belong. They belong there. And I hope it's an island that everyone feels like they're invited to, and beautiful things come.
Anybody else from the public have any questions or
Thank you.
concerns?
I would like to make a point. Well, all this sounds beautiful.
Can you step up to the microphone, please?
Coming up to the mic.
All right, thank you.
It's great. It sounds great for the environment. And one concern, I've lived there for 35 years over in Gorman Farm. If you've ever driven south on Ridgeland and wanted to go down to Pauling and turn left,
It's amazing.
it's guaranteed to be tremendous accidents if people do not know that area and drive down there. Really, Ridgeland needs to be moved, I would guess, 100 feet further west away from that bridge. If you've ever come down Ridgeland and go to turn left on Pauling, you really have to be on top of somebody coming over that bridge about 50 miles an hour. That's my only concern with putting a lot of people that especially don't know that road. Ridgeland really would have to be modified down at Pauling. It should be right now, really, because it's extremely dangerous. There's been a number of accidents there. You can check with the police department.
That is a scary road. I know what you're talking about.
Oh,
That's
it
that's
is,
scary without traffic.
Exactly. So it's just a point here. What you folks want to do, that's very nice. But then Ridgeland, the south end of Ridgeland needs to be moved or made it, of course, it can't be made a dead end, but it had to be moved further west so you could get out onto Pauling at least a couple hundred feet away from that bridge.
A three-way stop would be wonderful.
It's just an opinion.
Thank you.
I wish you the best.
I live right across the street from this project, and I like to keep a low profile just because I don't want to cause any waves, which I'm really surprised I'm up here right now. But I think it would be pretty cool for my kids. My wife's in the back, she's pregnant with her first. It would be a cool place for them to go. So I don't know, I mean, I'm not disregarding anyone's concerns about the project that I heard, but I know that it would probably be a good thing for the community, at least for me, and I'm right across the street. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
There's one thing about making waves, you know, if you're not making waves, you're not moving. Okay, so that's always one that I put in my head somewhere. Don't be afraid to make waves.
I have another question, and since you brought that up. This is then open to the general public, just not only just members of the church, so everyone would have access, and how would that work? In terms of, is it admission or?
Yeah, we were saying, I think just from a security standpoint, we would not be open like the Forest Preserve, so that would be a distinction in that someone needs to open the gate and it needs to be staffed to that extent. But the hope is that people would come. We want that to be available because there is just something about getting out there that it's peaceful. So we would like to figure out a way to do that, to be able to make that accessible to people on a few fronts. I say accessible in the sense that we want it accessible wheelchairs, we want it accessible ages, we want all ages, every generation up there. It's just a matter of figuring out how that works, respecting the neighbors, and then also just safety-wise, wanting to make sure that that's covered, so.
And that was my next question. Would it be accessible to people with special needs? And you addressed that.
Yes,
Thank you.
I can't wait.
Thank you.
I still have a question. I still don't know how they're gonna take care of water, sewer, waste, phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3, water runoff. I haven't heard any of those things. Just building, but not the infrastructure. And that's my concern.
Would you like me to address that? So again, I work for Terra Engineering. We are civil engineers. We design infrastructure for a living. So from a stormwater perspective, I tried to cover that as much as I could in 10 minutes on the property, but the way the general, here, let me go here. The way the general drainage for this property works at the moment is there's really like a ridge line down the center. Fun fact, although I haven't fact checked this, so I probably shouldn't say it, but the previous owner's civil engineer told me that the highest point, geographic point in Will County is 20 feet north of our property, which I think is a fun fact, right near the cell tower, which is unfortunate, but that's where that is. And so all from there, all the water either drains southwest or southeast. There is a culvert under I-57. It's actually off our property, but that is how the eastern portion predominantly of our project drains. We would continue to manage water in that direction. We will need to abide by Will County's stormwater code, which we fully understand. And so honestly, there'll be no more runoff to going going to the ditches on either the east or west than there is today, and actually, we're going to have to much improve the drainage conditions that exist on the property. But again, we don't want to do that with what would be called gray infrastructure. So we don't intend to bury oversized piping, large concrete boxes. If we build anything, we want it to enhance the aesthetics and beauty of the property. If we did end up with a retention pond, we'd love to integrate it into the education and build ecosystem and allow that to educate the public as well. From a water and septic perspective, or water and sanitary perspective, he is correct. There is no public water or sanitary fronting our property, and so we're very well aware that we will need to construct wells, and we'll do that in accordance with all the IEPA and IDPH permitting, as well as septic fields to handle the load of each project. The shape and size of those are details we have not yet gotten to, but we're fully aware that that's a challenge that faces us, but we've already started the trajectory of research, and space planning takes that into account already.
How many trees are you willing to sacrifice for septic fields?
Well, we're intending to integrate it with the open space that exists. There's more land here than this picture lets on, but we're very aware those can get very large very fast, and that there's vehicular restrictions and offset requirements and things of that nature, but we know that.
2 people, a full acre,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
Where I live.
I know.
175
We will
people
sort that out.
times,
We're very aware.
divided by 2 times an acre.
Correct.
You're going to have your hands full.
That's fair.
that.
But again, that's a challenge that we'll tackle in design as we firm up this plan. This is about what's the vision and what is the program we want to be able to be put here. Where those pieces land, we'll take all that into account.
Previously, there was another church that wanted to build, but was not allowed because there was not enough acreage for the number of people that they could possibly have at any given time to construct the septic fields. They went much further south on Ridgeland to build their church, where they had more property to build the septic fields. You need to be aware of that.
We are.
I'm not telling you how to do your job, because that is your job,
I understand.
right? So it can be a big problem.
We are aware.
I would say also that things can change too. You know, there is a water project that's going to be coming into the west side of Monee, or on this side of 57.
Are you talking about water main?
Mm-hmm.
That's a water main. That has nothing to do with sewage.
That's why she's here.
Okay, but understand that that's a water main.
No,
Okay?
I think he's just pointing out that but through the course of time, right, infrastructure improvements in the village can alter too, and that would be potentially an added benefit to this property. That's all I think he's saying.
I can tell you, I have a good friend. It was just he and his wife until his daughter, son-in-law, and 3 sons, little guys, moved into his house because they're going to build a new house. Within less than 6 months, his septic field was overloaded. This is what I'm trying to say.
I hear you.
It's a huge problem. I mean, okay, so it's not going to be like Soldier Field at halftime when the toilets are all being flushed and the amount of volume that is going into the sewers. But you still have to be able to handle a tremendous volume of waste if you've got a full house.
Correct. I understand.
Did anybody else from the public have any questions? All right, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Litter,
Yes.
Lindstrom,
Yes.
Trevino,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Bettenhausen,
Yes.
Brophy.
Yes.
All right, now I need a favorable or unfavorable.
I'll make a favorable motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Lindstrom,
Yes.
Trevino,
Yes.
West,
Abstain.
Bettenhausen,
Yes.
Brophy,
I will abstain.
Leonard.
No.
All right, well, thank you very much. So we will now pass your recommendation on to the board next week. Their meeting is at 6:30 on the 23rd, and be prepared to present again. But thank you very much for your time, and it's very interesting what you're looking to do there. All right, do we have any new business? No. Now I just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second it?
All right, roll call, please.
Trevino,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Bettenhausen,
Yes.
Brophy,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Lindstrom.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.